Well, we talked about Kingdomology, a study of the kingdom. We talked about the king, necessary in a kingdom. We talked about domain, or the rules, the realm over which God rules. And between the realm and the ruler, there are rules, principles by which the kingdom operates. Let me take leave from that point for a moment, come back later to tell you about something that has been going on for really about 13 years, nearly 14 in fact. About 14 years ago, maybe a little more, R.T. Kendall, who has been at this point pastor of the Westminster Chapel in London, the great world pulpit. It's probably known as the greatest pulpit in the world, the most well-known. There are some great Bible scholars, Campbell and E. Stanley Jones and R.T. Kendall, an American chap, went to Oxford to study, got his he calls it the DPhil, the degree of degrees, and that's where he was. During his studies, he preached all around. He was preaching at Westminster Chapel, and Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones was the pastor. He was a doctor. He was a medical doctor. He was the Queen's doctor. But he also was a phenomenal Bible scholar and taught at Westminster Chapel. Well, a few years ago, after 25 years, R.T. Kendall had served that church and was retiring to move back to America. He and I had a meeting in Oklahoma at a church in Ada. And we had a great time. Our assignment was, he was to preach on the Word, I was to preach on the Spirit. And such was the excitement and the happenings in this Baptist church that we began to discuss something. I said, R.T., why don't, when you retire, we do some work together? And I don't know that I had any idea that he would fall for that. But he said, well, let's do it. So retirement came. In fact, just before his retirement was final, we had our first Word, Spirit, and Power conference. Now, between the time we decided to do it and then, he thought of somebody, and I certainly agreed with him, because he was the most powerful man I knew in ministry. And that was Charles Caron. We're pretty much the same age. Charles is now 84 and I'm 81, and R.T. will be 80 his next birthday, so we're 245 years old at the present time. Been in ministry 190 some years, so this is a rare thing. So for 13 and a half, nearly 14 years, we've been doing this. We have had 67 or 68 of these conferences. North America, Canada, the Great Britain. We had our 67th last week in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The strange thing about this meeting, nobody knew anything about anybody involved in the meeting together. That is, they didn't know the team didn't know them. But we're quite able to make ourselves at home, and that's what we did. We acted like ourselves. We were loose and shared, and God just made the thing work from beginning to end. I describe it like this: we had a barn burner. We had a blowout. And God blessed. And R.T. preached on the Word, I preached on the Spirit, and Charles came along and put word and spirit together, and the result was displays of power. So you watch for the our website and for any communication you get, including this that you're watching right now. And I'd like for you to be a part of those meetings. On a meeting several months ago, several of our sons, my son was there, and another one became my son while there. And I'd like for my sons to get to those things. God does a marvelous work. We're a happy three working together, and there's a culture that God fills with Himself. And we had a glorious time. People were healed. People were filled with the Spirit, baptized in the Spirit. And it just, there's no way to count what happened as far as the measure of impact. So remember, when you see the words, Word, Spirit, Power, you check and see if there's one going on anywhere near you anytime soon. We have a book now, Word, Spirit, Power, that was the greatest charismatic #1 book in late 2012 and 2013. So I say that because the last thing we did, RT had to go. He wasn't there for the last meeting. And Charles and I were led of the Lord to team teach on the issue of the kingdom of God. Well, it was electric. God moved. He started out, I responded, he responded to my response, and we did that for about an hour, and God just broke loose, and we had prayer for the next 2 hours with bodies flying and people happy and thrilled. We could have been there another several hours. But in the study of the kingdom, I'm noticing this. Our subject, Kingdomology. I say Kingdomology 101, the basics of the kingdom. I stood there, and Charles stood there, and we're so full of thinking on the kingdom that it's quite amazing to me what comes forth. Maybe something that I hadn't thought of or he hadn't thought of, but God strikes us with it, and the words form around it, and it's absolutely wonderful. So I want to challenge you to engage in Kingdomology, the study of the kingdom of God, the study of the government of God. And when you hear me preach twice, you probably will have heard me preach one time on the kingdom, maybe both times. I'm a Johnny One Note. I think the kingdom is not only the most important thing, it is everything. It is the only thing. You say, well, that couldn't be. Well, let me reference that. There is nothing eternal outside the kingdom of God. Reality is based not on visibility or tangibility. It's based on eternal reality. Only the real lasts. Thus, the kingdom is the only reality. 500 million years from this present moment as you watch me, 500 million years from now, the kingdom will still be. And so the kingdom is. It's everything. And if it is anything, and it's everything, it is supernatural. Relationally supernatural. God bless you as you engage in Kingdomology 101. hey, I want you to keep on watching us and find out where we are. Look at the calendar and listen to where we're going to be. Last year was a remarkable year, and this one is going to be even better. On January the 25th, we began the 68th Word Spirit Power Conference. My three old guys, Charles Caron, R.T. Kendall, and myself, have been at this for 14 years. It'll be 14 years in March. We've had 67 of them. This will be the 68th. This is going to be a good one, We don't have any bad ones, but a good one. In Lubbock, Texas, at the Springs Fellowship. Find out where it is. Meet us there. You will enjoy it. 25 through 28 January, Springs Fellowship in Lubbock, Texas.